sorry. When I did the billboard before, did I mispronounce your name the first time?
Yeah, you said Leslie.
I did say
Roman.
Leslie. No. What an idiot I am.
Two big weather stories across the lower 48 as we headed through Tuesday. One was thunderstorm action, some of that creating a lot of wind damage and lots of reports of flooding rains and some hail, particularly for the lower Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley. We'll get to that in just a moment. The other story has got to be the heat, and that has been ongoing for many, many weeks now, particularly across the south. But not just there. There were some other spots that joined in some of the intense heat today. Let's take you on a little bit of a tour of some of the hot spots. Manasquan Inlet, New Jersey. I don't know if I'd have been jogging, but hey, to each his own. Some folks actually like to jog in the heat. Better perhaps to maybe head to the water like that young guy was doing, or maybe drink the water like that guy. Yeah, water, H2O, that's the best way to keep yourself cool, whether you're out there swimming in it or drinking it. Washington, D.C., yeah, by the tidal basin. That's another good idea. It was a pretty hot day around D.C. as well up into the 90s, and it's not out of the question that the temperatures could approach 100 degrees in Washington, D.C. as we head on through tomorrow before some thunderstorms could head on in during the day Wednesday. Dallas, well, this is an old story. Same song, different verse, I guess, for the Big D. The Metroplex again for the 16th straight day got up over 100 degrees, and that blazing sunshine again will be back again tomorrow. The best thing to do, try to head to the water. That is kind of a universal thing, to try to break the heat or stay in the air conditioning. That's probably an even better idea. Corpus Christi actually was the only record high that we had today, and that was a tie at 98 degrees. Temperatures across much of North Texas and central parts of the Plain States on up into the Great Lakes before the thunderstorms roared through were pretty much above average by 5 to 10 degrees. And even the Pacific Northwest joined in with 92 at Spokane and 85 at Seattle, 92 also at Portland and Medford at 101. 102 at Vegas, that's not all that terribly hot, and 96 is actually below average for Phoenix thanks to some clouds and showers from the monsoon in that area. 100 degrees at Midland and Odessa, and there's the 102 in Dallas, keeping that string at 16 now. 101 in Little Rock, there's the 96 in D.C., and on up into New York City at 94 degrees. Now, it's going to be another hot day as we look ahead to Wednesday here. A combination of the heat and the humidity, I was mentioning that could get up to near 100 around the nation's capital. Plenty of humidity in there, too. Some of the heat indices may be upwards of 110, 112 degrees. I was checking out here at Salisbury. If the temperature approaches 100 degrees there and the dew points up in the mid to upper 70s, we could well have heat indices there of 115 to 117 or 18 degrees. That is extremely dangerous. So please, please just take it easy out and about. Hold on there in Salisbury and D.C. and all the areas in the Northeast for about another day or two. Then we'll get the drier, cooler air to sweep on through. Unfortunately, not too much relief in sight for parts of Texas and Oklahoma. The other big story, as I mentioned, was the big thunderstorm action, and anywhere where you see these blue dots, we had reports of some hail or reports of some very strong winds, and they're still coming in tonight across parts of northwestern Pennsylvania. We're going to have to add some dots there, Ohio and central Indiana too. Lots of reports of wind gusts of 50, 60, even over 70 miles an hour, downing trees and power lines. Again, batch after batch of thunderstorms since early in the morning Tuesday roared across the southern Great Lakes. Detroit got hit several times, and northern Indiana, then Ohio around the Cleveland area. And new storms developed overnight here in Iowa, as well as back into Nebraska with the potential for some flooding rains. Also wanted to point your attention down here into the Gulf of Mexico, or I should say here, coming through the Florida Straits off of Cuba. Tropical wave promising to bring some locally heavy rains into South Florida overnight. But the main threat for severe weather continues to be out from Nebraska eastbound along I-80 all the way into Pennsylvania. Some areas getting so much rain that the darker green shaded ones, that's where there are flash flood watches out overnight. Some fog could slow you down on the highways, particularly along the Gulf Coast, the Appalachians, and parts of the West Coast too. Again, we'll watch this front as it pushes ever so slowly south. That'll be a focusing point for more showers and thunderstorms. The monsoon storms, well, they'll be scattered, but locally heavy, and there'll be isolated storms from Florida into much of the southeast to break the heat in a few spots. There's where your heaviest rain will be. Watch out in around Omaha and maybe Lincoln and Council Bluffs. Your overnight lows and afternoon highs. Now let's check a few city forecasts, starting with Atlanta.
Hello.
Now, you want to be shocked and amazed by our psychics, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Well, this time, it's me who's going to shock and amaze you.
Oh, really?
Yes, really. I'm giving you 12 full minutes with a real psychic for free.
12 full minutes, all in one call?
Yes, all in one call, no strings attached. This 12 free minutes is for real.
And do I have to join a club or something?
No, this free is better than free. In fact, you're under no obligation to spend a single dime, and you will definitely get your 12 minutes free.
Well, it sounds pretty good.
Honey, listen to me. This is so free that you speak directly to your psychic on an 800 number.
On an 800 number. Wow, it really is free.
Exactly. So don't miss out. Pick up your phone and call this number. number right now. Get your free psychic reading with 12 full minutes free.
Call now for the best long-distance rates and get 12 minutes free. Speak to your psychic directly through an 800 number. This psychic reading really is free.
Call 1-800-987.
Those of you who might be planning a little cruise or a vacation across the Caribbean, stay tuned because coming up in just a couple moments, we'll be checking out the weather in the tropics with your tropical update. But right now, again, it's time for Storm Watch. And this go around, we focus in on some bigger thunderstorms popping up this morning across the nation's midsection. Some thunderstorms rumbling over parts of Nebraska and Iowa, but a large area of very, very heavy showers and strong thunderstorms bearing down on northern sections of Indiana. And we've had some tremendously heavy amounts of rain with some of these showers and thunderstorms. Moisture, too, continues to work its way across Ohio. We've had some moderate to occasionally heavy rain around Defiance and Upper Sandusky. Back over towards around Mansfield, still reporting some rain. But look at these powerful thunderstorms still rumbling their way across northern sections of Indiana. In fact, most of northern Indiana remains remains under a flood warning, as some locales have had some tremendous amounts of rain.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Weather Center. I'm Rich Johnson here at Janetta Jones, and a couple different stories, showers and thunderstorms. I'll be talking about those, and really the top story today, the heat, making its way up to the northeast.
Yeah, a lot of folks are going to see a very, very hot day today. In fact, we have a heat alert in effect for some locations across the northeast. Philadelphia, Boston, New York City may be the hottest day of the season so far for you. Let's check out those heat index readings. That's when you factor in the humidity, what it actually feels like. And already, let's see, it's noontime, it's lunchtime, and folks, it feels like 93 in New York City, feels like 96 in Philadelphia, and it feels like 100 in Washington, D.C. Would you look at Boston? Wow, you're already looking at 95-degree heat index values. So it is going to get hotter. A lot of places across the Northeast are opening up, providing their air-conditioned facilities for the elderly, the disabled, that kind of thing, because it is going to be so incredibly hot and so very, very dangerous. A lot of folks have died this season due to the heat, over 70 people, I believe, and not just in the Northeast, but nationwide. So it's been an incredibly hot summer, and it's going to continue to be hot today. Here's our frontal boundary, not really providing any relief for you folks in the Northeast as of yet. We are going to see those, some scattered showers and thunder showers along the front. Cooler air behind it, you better believe it. And that cooler air is going to work its way on into the Northeast. You've just got to wait a bit for that relief to come into play. So hopefully we'll get that relief into the Northeast very, very soon. Check out how much cooler it is behind the front. We're talking about 60s in Fargo, 75 in Green Bay, 78. Wow, that's kind of nice in Chicago. Contrast that with the extreme heat to the south of that frontal boundary. We're talking about 80s and 90s. It's already 84 in Dallas. I believe if you hit 100 degrees or higher today, it will be 17 days in a row of that kind of heat, and that is a lot of hot days in a row. 86 in Orlando, but you factor in the humidity and it feels like 93. Feels like 97 in Charleston. Feels like 102 in Raleigh, North Carolina. A scorcher of a day for you. Last week we were talking about the excruciating heat across the Southwest. Well, it's already rather warm in Phoenix, but not as bad as it was last week at this time. 68 in L.A. So that's the deal as far as temperatures go. Pocket of really hot stuff right here. And of course, it will be another hot day across the plains and parts of Texas. So for that reason, we're forecasting an extremely high heat index here, and that means danger. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to take a lot of breaks, drink plenty of fluids, preferably water, especially in this particular region. You're not used to that kind of heat. Down here, it's been hot for quite a while, so you know what we're talking about. Wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, check on the elderly, check on the small children, that kind of thing. Okay, that's the way things stand as far as the heat goes. What about the precipitation? Rich is going to tell you.
Thank you, Janetta. Severe weather will be breaking out through the day with the strongest storms possibly across the Midwest. Let's have a look at that right now. First of all, the big picture out there, and then jumping right to the northeast. You can see the front. Once again, it is situated in the northeast, actually up toward the St. Lawrence Seaway. And one of the reasons that we're going to see some very hot weather today, already seen in Boston down to New York, we're getting that compressional heating out ahead of the cold front. That may touch off some storms, especially by tomorrow. Isolated storms possible today, yes, but tomorrow, much better chance. Here's our satellite photograph showing the clouds near Boston down to Baltimore, my hometown, and D.C. Overall, pretty decent amount of sunshine. Latest with the radar, not much out there, 1 or 2 showers south of Lake Ontario, otherwise dry. In the deep south from Texas over to Georgia, mostly dry conditions, 1 or 2 showers. Most of us aren't seeing much in the way of rain, but speaking of rain, last night in South Florida, some thunderstorms. And take a look at Miami here. This is pretty rough looking. In fact, tropical moisture made it a rough morning for people in Miami. Overnight thunderstorms entered the area. They carried high winds down the trees and power lines, and thousands of customers in South Florida awoke to find that they did not have any electricity. So you know what happens when that happens. Sometimes you get to work late because you have overslept in the morning. So I suspect a few of you may have actually done that. Into the south today, looking at thunderstorms out across North Florida, occasional thunderstorms in the southern Appalachians. Big view of the radar showing the thunder showers just starting to build up near Tallahassee and off to the southwest, and another cluster near Atlanta. So a few thunderstorms popping up. Also New Orleans, you're seeing some storms. Down to Pensacola, right on the edge of the rain from the city westward. That's where the heaviest showers are. But if you make your way east, a lot of the beaches, it looks like out toward Destin's looking fine, or close to there anyway. Out toward Panama City, right in between, off to the east, off to the west, some rain showers around with some very heavy rain near Tallahassee, home of Florida State University, of course. Looking off to the north, here's our stationary front. South of the front, showers and storms focused along this boundary. Yesterday at Findlay, Ohio, about 2.5 inches of rain. Cleveland, officially 1 1/3 inches. Some other areas in northern Indiana may have picked up upwards of 4 or 5 inches of rain from the storm. So it looks like once again today, more thunder showers. They're developing right now across Illinois. Closer view of the radar first into Ohio. You can see 1 or 2 isolated showers over toward Cleveland, nothing terribly heavy. Meanwhile, focusing in down toward Lafayette, here comes the storms from Bloomington. They're moving due west-east. Some of these may have some small hail, but over toward Chicago for lunch, probably okay. Some showers, certainly trying to move on in. Meanwhile, over to Kansas City, dry, but the rain out west of you into Kansas, heading your way. So if it holds together, maybe another couple hours, look for some rain showers to move on in. Meanwhile, the monsoon has now settled into the west. That means more clouds. Certainly another chance of seeing some rain too. So as the moisture gathers, showers and storms building up from the Mogollon Rim northward up toward the Wasatch. Much needed rain. Here's your forecast for today. Looks like a lot of rain out there, but this is scattered showers, scattered thunderstorms until we make our way up along the front. Some of these storms will be severe today, so anywhere from Detroit, Chicago, back out to Cleveland, over to Buffalo, you may see some storms. Much needed rain possibly for Atlanta, maybe up toward Chattanooga. Tomorrow morning, it all calms down for the exception of right along the front, probably just like this morning. It's going to be locally heavy, where some areas, especially in northern Missouri, could see upwards of 3 inches of rain plus. Today's top story, though, of course, the heat once again, not only in the southwest and west, but making its way up toward the northeastern United States. So Boston down to New York, also getting into the act with the hot weather.
Okay, we'll watch the heat. We'll also watch the thunderstorms coming up on Travel Wise.
This is Jane.
Hi, I was coming down. I'm in sales.
This is Jane's car.
Traveling sales.
Hence Jane's problem.
Nationwide insurance.
That's why this is Jane's Insurance Company, the company with round-the-clock claim service.